Hello there and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be telling you everything that you need to know when buying a Nissan 350z. In this video I'm going to be discussing three main things to look at when having a look at a used Nissan 350z. So the first point is about smoking on the 350z. So this can occur to any car. If you've got white smoke, then that usually means there is a coolant leak of some sort. So don't get this confused with a cold start, or when the car's been sat for a couple of days, the engine will then produce condensation, which will make it look like there is a white smoke. As you can see with the car in front, they've got some white clear smoke coming out. Usually that is just because the car is cold and there's condensation built up in the engine, but as long as it goes within a couple of minutes, then there is no problems there at all. But if you have got constant white smoke, the best way to do this is to have someone follow you behind so then they can see from a back angle. But if there's quite a lot of white smoke, then you've probably got some sort of coolant leak. Then there are two other sorts of smoke which are a bit more dangerous. So you've got blue smoke, is when there is a oil leak or the car is burning oil. Usually this is from the piston rings, how they have worn out. It causes oil to go into the combustion center, which the engine then burns the extra oil and it comes out as blue smoke at the back of your engine. Usually in these type of cars it is easier to do an engine swap than it is to fix the piston rings, just because there are lots of VQ engines around and it's probably going to be cheaper than the labour to take apart the whole engine and fix it that way. So I'd always recommend, if you're going to view a used 350z, start the car up, give it a couple of revs, obviously let it warm up first, see if there's any smoke coming out at all, make sure you have someone else to look at it from behind. And then the third type of smoke is black smoke. Black smoke is caused by the car running rich, when there's too much fuel entering the engine and the car is just burning it off. The opposite of this is running lean. Running lean is when you've got too much air, not enough fuel. Running rich is when you've got too much fuel, not enough air. This can cause black smoke to come out of your exhaust. There are loads of sensors within the engine, like you've got your O2 sensors, which I've got one of mine is faulty. These can be the reason that you have black smoke, just because these tell the ECU how much air and how much fuel the ratio should be and whether or not it's at a good consistency. It's under the bonnet, so I'm going to show you where the power steering fluid is, brake fluid, where your coolant, just so you know that all of these are at the right levels. So as you can see here, you've got your coolant, so you can see just down the bottom there is a minimum and maximum, so make sure that it is within that range. Then in this bit here you've got your power steering. As you can see here, you've got a hot minimum, cold minimum, hot max, cold max, so make sure it's within that range as well, so it's definitely got enough fluid. Up in this top section here is where your brake fluid is. So as you can see again, you've got a minimum and a maximum. So as you can see, I'm missing quite a few clips on here. This could be something that you could just haggle down the price a little bit. Same again on this side, I'm missing some clips, so it's super loose, mine just comes off. But this is where you've got your battery and you've got your fuse box. So that's it with under the bonnet. So now I'm going to show you in the boot where there is a common rust problem. So there are a couple of problems with this car. Sometimes the struts don't work properly, so obviously open the boot, make sure that works all fine. And then underneath the carpet here, you should have a spare wheel. I've got some random junk in there, so let me just take this out. So the spare wheel just twists out with this little clip in the middle. So you've also got some extra tools on the side which should come with the car. So you've also got a scissor jack there. So I've already treated this boot, but you've got to be careful, as underneath all of this sound deadening which I added in, there can be a lot of rust. So as you can see in some bits here, I sandpapered all the rust and I put some hammerite over the top of it so it stops it from growing back through. But this is something I definitely have a look at, because these can get quite bad, as water can leak in here. I'd also recommend putting some sound deadening in as well, as it just kind of reduces the road noise a little bit when you're driving along, and it makes the exhaust just a tiny bit quieter when you're sat inside, so you can have a conversation with the person next to you. Obviously just check both the door handles work, check all the windows work, just make sure everything works when you are going to view the car. I'd also make sure to check all the interior trims. As you can see, this one here has got a crack in it, which I did fix a little bit, so it's not as bad anymore. But these are little points where you can haggle down the price, so you could get your 350z for a little bit cheaper. As you can see, there's a little rip here. All these little things, you could knock a couple £100 when you're buying a used 350z. And again, I'd look out for any sort of rust spots. There's not much on this car, it is in quite good condition, but there are a couple of little bits here and along here on the rear arches. And again, a couple of little things to look out for, just where I've got a little bit of lacquer peel here and a tiny bit of rust coming around here, but that is the only rust on my car, which is very good for a 21-year-old Nissan.